The Story of Ruth.
Ruth loved God. Ruth loved others. Ruth did her best. Ruth lived her faith. The story of Ruth doesn't actually start with Ruth. It starts with Naomi and Elimelech in Bethlehem.
Hey, I heard about Bethlehem. Yes, well, there is a famine in Bethlehem. A famine means no rain, so no food grows. Elimelech decided to take his family to Moab.
He and his wife Naomi packed up their things. They took their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, to Moab.
They must have lived in Moab for a while, because Mahlon and Chilion both married Moabite women.
Their names were Orpah and Ruth.
Then something terrible happened.
Elimelech died. But we don't know how it happened, but it did.
Then another terrible thing happened. Mahlon and Chilion died too.
Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah were all widows. A widow is a person whose husband has died. Now in those days, women couldn't go out and get a job.
They depended on sons and husbands to take care of them. But Naomi's husbands and sons have died.
She decided to go to Bethlehem. She told Orpah and Ruth to go back to their parents' houses. Orpah cried and waved goodbye to Naomi.
Ruth did not want to go back to her house because in Moab they worshipped idols.
Don't ever do that.
Naomi had told Ruth about the one true God. Ruth wanted to worship him.
But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God." Ruth 1, verse 16. Ruth loved God. Ruth also loved others. She loved Naomi. She didn't want to go back alone. When Naomi Ruth went to Bethlehem, it was the start of the barley harvest.
Barley is a grain that you can cook or eat.
God has provided a way that widows would have food. Its name was gleaning.
Glean is when you go out in the field and pick up all the stuff that the workers leave behind to drop.
It was hard work.
So Ruth went out to glean in the field.
The owner of the field came by and saw her. He asked his workers about her.
His workers said she was Ruth from Moab. She had come back with Naomi. Also, they told him what a hard worker she was. Ruth did her best, even in the fields.
The owner of the fields was Boaz. Boaz called her over. He told Ruth to only work in his field, and he would make sure that everyone was nice to her. Not everyone was nice to a Moabite, because Israel has fought against Moab. Remember about the story of King Eglon in Moab?
We're telling the story about Ruth.
Okay, that was an interesting story.
Back to Ruth.
Boaz said he would be kind to Ruth and told his workers to be kind to her too. He told his workers to give her extra barley and to give her water when she was thirsty. I think Boaz has liked Ruth. What's not to like? Ruth went home after working hard. Naomi saw all the body she had.
Which was a lot.
She asked Ruth what field is she going to. Ruth told her about Boaz, that how he was nice, and gave her extra barley. Naomi was excited. She told Ruth that Boaz was their kinsman redeemer.
Kinsman redeemer is a relative that would marry a widow and take care of her.
Ruth was excited to Boaz was kind and cute. I think Ruth likes Boaz. What's not to like?
Now the story gets a little tricky because there's another kinsman redeemer.
The book of Ruth in the Bible tells us more. There's a party on the fishing floor and a sandal exchange. This story's getting a little too long.
Let's skip to the end. Boaz and Ruth got married.
Later they had a baby boy, Obed. God bless their family. In fact, Boaz and Ruth are great-grandparents of David. You mean the David that fought Goliath? Yes. You mean the David that became king of Israel? Yes.
In fact, Jesus even came in the family.
Awesome!
Ruth loved God.
She loved others.
She did her best.
She lived her faith.
The end.